Good evening, everybody. Good to see you here. We'll get started a teeny bit early tonight. We have a pretty big, full program. Lots of people that you're going to be interested in hearing from. So, like it says there, thanks to you, 78 months. Can you believe we've been crazy enough to be doing this for 78 months? I'm just going, whoa, that's pretty crazy. So we like to start our events with a short invocation and followed by the pledge. And Paul here is going to lead us in the invocation this evening.
I noticed she mentioned short. So, I just feel such a sense of destiny that's happening to us in our nation and here in Spokane, and what occurs to me is the scripture that I think is most pertinent at this point is 2 Chronicles 7:14. If my people who are called by my name will humble themselves and pray, seek my face, turn from their wicked ways, then I will hear from heaven, heal their land. And that's my prayer tonight. I just thank you, Lord, for this group here that comes with a heart of liberty, and I believe that's your heart. I believe that's your heart for America. So we just ask your blessing on our gathering tonight. Let us go away with increased information and heart to follow hard after you. We just thank you, Lord, in Jesus' name. And where's the flag? Oh, there it is. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States.
Paul. Okay, we're going to start this evening with the open mic segment. And so if, some of you are scheduled to talk, but some of you aren't. And but if you have anything that's pressing that you feel everybody needs to know about, not depressing, no. This is your time to say something. So does anybody have anything they want to mention or anything happening that we need to know about? Very good. That is quick. That is unusual. And I decided I was going to make myself a slide talking about contributions, because I always forget to mention them, and we get busy at the end of the evening. And so I decided to make a slide to remind everyone. It does take money to make this work each month, and we really do appreciate your support. But last month I forgot to mention the jars. We put one at either end of the stairs and one over there on the table, and well, to put it mildly, it didn't work. So if you can help out, we really appreciate it. Okay, we'll go into national issues just a little bit here. And I've got to tell you that I am really, really getting tired of the never Trump Republicans. This party served us up candidates like Bob Dole and John McCain, and a lot of us were told just to support them, hold our nose and do what you're told to do, campaign for them and act as if they're our choice. And they weren't, but that's what we did. And, this year, the people, it's not us, it's the people, chose a candidate, overwhelming numbers that surprised everybody, and somehow those in power just don't want to follow their own advice. And I just have to tell you, I get a little bit upset for that. So you all know who you are, and you also know that if you vote for anyone but Trump, what you're voting for is Hillary Clinton. And it's a vote for more of what we've experienced the last 8 years. And if you think that's going to be okay because we have a majority in the Senate and we have a majority in the House, think again. It hasn't made a difference to this point. So why do you think it's going to make a difference? Just because. And so let's focus on some reasons to vote for Trump. And these are just a few of them that I threw up. I think it's really refreshing to have a candidate that absolutely believes in America. He loves the United States of America. You talk about bringing some patriotism back. I like that. We're looking at nationalism versus globalism. And I think it's time that the United States starts being a little more proud of who we are, what we stand for, and putting our interests where they belong, not behind everyone else. I do believe that Trump speaks for the little people. And that's why we had such a groundswell of, that they couldn't even predict. Why in the world did he get the number of votes that he did in the primaries? It's just because people are a little bit darn tired of how things are. And it's nice to have a candidate that doesn't speak eloquently and politically, but at least they understand what he's saying. But then when you look at that other one, there's an establishment plot against Trump, and the way I tell people, because they get pretty upset, you've got the media, you've got the Republican establishment, you've got the elites, you've got the money people on the left, money people on the right, everybody against Trump. And I say, hey, if everybody's against him, he's got to be doing something right. And one of the major reasons I got behind Trump in the beginning was because I feel that Washington, D.C. needs to be changed. It truly needs to be changed. And I think that's why he's getting the amount of pushback that he's getting, is because they don't want to give up their power party. And I like his policies on immigration, on taxes, the veterans, and a strong, sensible foreign policy. And most of all, we need to consider the Supreme Court. There are going to be multiple appointments over the next 4 years. And if you have Hillary Clinton in there, you are basically really looking at giving so many of the things that we hold near and dear to our hearts constitutionally, they're going to be gone. So all I can say is get over it and vote for Trump. So we're going to talk, we've always said in these meetings that we make more of a difference locally in our local issues and our state issues than we do in the national ones. And so let's get local, because that is where we can make a real difference. And since we're going to be talking about the state and county elections in a minute, we're going to start off with the city of Spokane. And to bring us up to date with some of the more important issues, I really want to invite Mike Fagan up here to talk about what's been going on. A lot of it going on while he was on vacation, and boy, you can't control him any way you want there. It's crazy.
Don't go on that side of the flashing lines. This is Jeff Broadhead's thing. So
This is our disco area.
Well-
So this is your first slide, second slide, and if you want me to click, just tell me to, and that should be on.
that's the free speech zone, right?
Have you got him turned on?
No.
All right, now we've got some sound. Good deal. Thanks, first and foremost, for having me at the open mic. For those folks that don't know me, my name is Mike, and I'm open.
Woo!
All right. Who's got that snare drum? Boy, I'll tell you, yeah, Cecily's absolutely correct. While I was on vacation, John as well, while I was on vacation, a couple of very, very interesting and very, very impactful things happened in the city of Spokane. And you know what they say, what happens in Spokane spills out all over the county and even beyond. First thing that I wanted to bring folks up to date on, right before I took off to England, the end of May, I attended a meeting over at the Unitarian Church, which happens to be located on Fort George Wright Drive. Just bear Fort George Wright Drive in mind, folks, because I'm going to tell you a little something about that street coming up with your Spokane City Council here in the real near future. But the Unitarian Church, located on Fort Wright Drive, right adjacent to Spokane Falls Community College, was a really ooey-gooey kind of a meeting. Because, the left-leaning council members had all of their environmentalist supporters, their liberal supporters there, and it was all about demonizing rail. And we're talking specifically about oil and coal. And, I'll tell you something, folks, just from BNSF themselves, their safety record is as follows: 99.987% safe. And, when you sit down and think about the alternatives to providing the volumes of coal and oil that is required to keep our economy moving in the manner that it is, just think of what types of impacts we would see if we took, by a ratio of 3-to-1, 4-to-1, placing semi-trucks on our roads and our highways and our streets. There is a little something called a risk versus benefit assessment that I would all like for you folks to think about. But nonetheless, just by virtue of the fact that we have this thing called global warming, also known as climate change, couple that with the fact that there are several private companies right now that are poised to put and establish export facilities over on the west side. This has been a huge battle for a handful of years now. And ultimately what ended up happening, if you believe it or not, I actually witnessed a council member from the Spokane City Council, i.e. Councilmember Beggs, Brian Beggs, who happens to be a lawyer, stand up at the podium and pretty much guarantee people that they were going to put a ballot measure onto the ballot that would prohibit the movement of coal and oil through the city of Spokane on a rail line that is owned by BNSF. In addition to that, believe it or not, this particular council member was almost to the point of guaranteeing the attendees that they were going to put provisions in subsequent law that would allow for what they call direct action, civil disobedience, anarchy, if you will. We're talking specifically about blocking the movement of trains. So as we saw on the west side several months ago, protesters lining the tracks in protesting the establishment of these export facilities, we actually saw 4 grandmothers chain themselves to the rails. And that's what we're going to be seeing here in Spokane. So this is currently a ballot measure. You're going to see it on your November ballot in the city of Spokane. So if we have any city of Spokane residents, you will get an opportunity to opine. I can tell you, since I did come back, I have been viciously lobbying my colleagues and trying to appeal on their sense of stewardship, on actually looking at the risk versus benefit. Another factoid that I want to throw at you, since I'm a member of the Spokane County Local Emergency Planning Committee, which is a consortium, if you will, of EMS organizations, government, as well as private companies. We're talking about the oil companies, the coal companies, the pipeline people that maintain that. And WSU just got done doing a little bit of what they call a commodity flow study, looking specifically at all of the hazardous material placards on every vehicle that transports hazardous materials. This would include oil, but not coal. And here's what WSU found after 20,000 observations right here in our immediate area. Hazardous materials travels through our area via rail, via the highways, the streets, and whatnot, including oil. And the percentage of that hazardous material that comes through our community is at roughly 3.5%. Whereas nationwide, the average for commodity flow, i.e. hazardous material, including oil, is running at 7%. So the amount of hazardous materials that we have coming through this immediate area is half of what it is on average nationwide. So just a little factoid for you. Again, as I've said, I've been lobbying my colleagues. The last possible opportunity that the Spokane City Council would have to act in backpedaling and very possibly removing this action from the ballot in November is going to be this coming Monday night. Now, this council is infamous for bringing forward issues by way of a suspension of rules, not giving the public an adequate amount of time to see things on our agenda. I am hopeful that in this one particular case, your Spokane City Council is going to get smart and we're going to do something to take that measure off the ballot. Again, 50-50 opportunity here, but if we do that, it's going to have to be done this Monday, the 15th. Why? It's because the auditor will be certifying the primary election on Tuesday, the 16th, the very next day, at which point those people that are the certified winners in that primary are going to go on the ballot for November, and they will have to get that ballot out to be printed. Yes, ma'am.
Wrong in, I thought I understood that we have no jurisdiction over what travels on rail lines.
That is absolutely
Or
correct.
the number of trains, or how fast they go, how slow they go, or anything. We can't tell them what to do. There's another entity that does that.
That's absolutely correct. There are several federal level entities that are responsible for rail movement, rail regulation, etc. And as was the case 57 minutes before the start of the City Council meeting on Monday the 25th, the City Council's lawyer put out a legal memo that pointed out the fact that the City Council was acting outside the scope of city power and acting in a manner that could open the city up to liability. By virtue of the fact that what we were doing was direct violation of the Commerce Clause, and that, again, we were acting outside of the scope of city power. Now, a short while after that, the Spokane City hearing examiner issued his legal opinion on the initiative, which was passed through by the council without having the sponsor go get the signatures, and which is now a ballot measure for November. The hearing examiner basically issued a finding that affirmed the city council lawyer's opinion, and even went so far as to say that the severance clauses in the measure also have legal issues. So all the way around, we have two legal opinions right now that says, look, you guys did something that you shouldn't have, and you're going to open up the city to huge lawsuits on down the road. In addition to that, yesterday afternoon, both myself as well as the mayor did meet with representatives of BNSF and Union Pacific. I can tell you that both of their legal teams are working together as I speak on potential legal answer to what the Spokane City Council has done. Is there legal action imminent? They didn't actually confirm that, but they are definitely talking together on this issue since they both have a stake in this particular matter here.
Next subject.
Yeah, next subject. Oh boy, that's a pretty nasty look. And that nasty look was probably promulgated by the fact that the council's independent investigation has found no wrongdoing by Mayor Condon with regard to the question, and this is one of three questions that the City Council hired and got involved in this independent investigation. Did the mayor knowingly withhold information which would have jeopardized him being reelected until after the election? I've read the investigative report. It's over 130 pages long, and I can tell you unequivocally there is no smoking gun, ladies and gentlemen. What basically happened here, and the reason why you saw the newspaper splash that you did a couple of Wednesdays ago that were very, very damning with regard to saying unequivocally that the mayor was guilty and did know, happened because of a leak of that particular document to the media. And, we're not going leaps and bounds to try to find out how that occurred and who perpetrated it. But I'll tell you something. In my mind, I don't think that the investigator would have leaked the report. They've got way, way too much at stake. Considering what got splashed on the headlines that Wednesday, a couple of Wednesdays ago, I don't think the mayor's office leaked that document either. So who's the third wheel in the cog? Okay.
I want to be mayor.
The only other entity that goes unanswered at this point would be the City Council. Okay? I'll just basically leave it at that. Anyway, there was this ugly headline that appeared a couple of Wednesdays ago. As you may or may not know, this coming Monday night, one of the other impactful things that we are going to be doing is we are going to be appointing a new city attorney. City Attorney Laura McAloon, and she's a wonderful litigator, very, very well versed and experienced in municipal law, and I think that she will do well in reining in the 8 electeds that reside over at Spokane City Hall. That is her primary job. She is there to make sure that the mayor and the city council members play nice and stay in the lines. Keep everything legal and above board. Bottom line, I do not know at this point if there is going to be a secondary report that gets issued to the city council that does bear an attorney-client privilege, because there were many, many documents very possibly pertaining to the Straub lawsuit, which, mind you, Straub lost the first salvo on that particular lawsuit. As his lawyer was arguing, he ended up getting terminated or fired, and as was always the case, reported in the media as well, it was a resignation or a forced resignation. So he ended up losing the first of what I believe is going to be many iterations of his lawsuit over the next couple of years. And as you probably have already heard in the media in the last 24 hours, the former spokesperson for the Parks Department, Nancy Goodspeed, has followed through, and she did file a $1 million lawsuit against the city for wrongful termination. All right, moving on. Spokane Police Department has been in disarray, has lacked stability as long as I've been in office, even with the hiring of Frank Straub. Now understand, as I take a step back and take a look at everything that basically transpired here, I think a lot of pundits and talking heads have kind of got it right that Frank Straub's primary purpose, as short as it was and as short as it probably was going to be, i.e. upwards of about 5-year tenure, he was brought here as a change agent to shake things up. And boy, I'm telling you what, he sure shook it up, didn't he? The mayor and the council, when it came time to figure out what it was that we were going to do as far as a hiring process for a new chief, we heard a lot from the community about the hiring process. And the community felt strongly at the time that we should go with a similar process that we had with Straub, but make it a lot more robust. And that's what we ended up doing. We ended up moving out smartly with putting together committees and whatnot. We had 5 separate committees. We hired a executive search firm. We spent somewhere between $25,000 and $30,000 on the process itself, and I can't even begin to equate how many volunteer hours went into those volunteers that served on the various committees, etc. But in the end, a lot of us got taken by surprise. I was actually back and did attend the press conference, 10:30 a couple of Mondays ago, and I'll tell you, it's straight up, guys. I was caught so much by surprise, I didn't stay for the rest of the press conference. My first thought after the mayor made the announcement that it would be Craig Meidel, and he characterized it as a promotion. First thought that I had, well, wow, that kind of conflicts with the charter. That kind of conflicts with a couple of municipal codes that I'm aware of, in that these types of appointments need to come before the city council for confirmation. And, since the appointment was made, the mayor has kind of changed what he has been saying and went from, well, I don't really feel a need to have the council confirm him, to, yes, we will get around to having the council confirm the new chief. A couple of things stood out in my quick review of the charter and the municipal code. 2 things. Number one, and you've heard this argument before, it's because we have heard it from the senators on the congressional on the federal level, as well as from some Congress members, when it came to discussing the next appointment for the Supreme Court. There really is no time requirement stated in the municipal code or the charter as to when the city council is required to do the confirmation. And in addition to that, the charter and municipal code is silent with regard to promotions. I don't know if that was the thought of the mayor at the time. Regardless, we do have a new police chief. He is what I would consider to be a hometown guy. There is a little controversy here. I can tell you that both the mayor and now Chief Meidel has sat down with the Zem family to do several things. Number one, explain Craig Meidel's infamous salute in court, and basically clear all suspicions, feelings, and things to that effect of the city of Spokane moving forward with Craig Meidel at the helm. That meeting did occur. As a matter of fact, there were a couple of meetings that occurred. And, based on those meetings, the mayor went ahead and made the decision to go ahead and appoint Craig Meidel as the new chief of police. Now, coming up this week on the 11th, and it is open to the public, you are invited from 6 to 8 p.m. to the West Central Community Center. Again, that'll be on the 11th this week, West Central Community Center from 6 to 8. Craig Meidel is going to make himself available to the public to answer whatever questions that the public has within the amount of time that we've gone ahead and scheduled. In addition to that, the following week on the 17th, at the East Central Community Center from 6 to 8 p.m., those folks that didn't get an opportunity to pose that question or attend this week's town hall event is invited again next week, the 17th, East Central Community Center from 6 to 8 p.m. Had a wonderful time in England. I would highly recommend, if you get an opportunity to go visit, you should. Learned a lot, saw a lot, and it's definitely enhanced my perspective on a lot of stuff. I can tell you unequivocally, and not getting this from the Parliament over there, because you guys probably heard how the Parliament was dissing our guy Trump, but the British people over there are in Trump's corner, contrary to what the Parliament has been telling the mainstream media. In addition to that, I talked to a lot of English with regard to the Brexits. I can tell you the top two reasons for Brexits: number one, immigration; number two, the corrupt EU. They wanted their independence back.
National sovereignty.
National sovereignty, you betcha. So again, just wanted to throw that out to you. That way I can dispel what you've probably been hearing in the mainstream media. I'm getting that from, and I'm telling you, I talked to hundreds of people. Here's another sad aspect, very, very sad, especially for us veterans that are in this room. I got to talk to a lot of service members while I was there. They were all Air Force, stationed at Lake and Heath as well as Mildenhall. And real sad thing. These guys have been watching what's been going on in the United States with the divisiveness, the BLM, the Second Amendment assaults, and things like that. And I did not find one airman or dependent that was comfortable rotating back to the United States.
Ooh.
They wanted to remain overseas, and if they were going to rotate, they wanted to rotate to a different country, not come back home. It's
Sad.
That bad. All right, so you've heard this before. I've said it on the radio show. This has got to be the most important election that we are ever going to see in our lifetimes. Probably the most important election that we've seen in lots of generations. And we got to show up, folks. We got to stand in the gap. We got to be the salt and light. And we got to get it done. Thank you for your time.
Thank you. And I have to say that was a well-deserved vacation. Don't you guys agree? Okay, the city of Spokane Valley, it's really a shame, but we meet on the same nights that they meet, and so it's very hard to have anybody represent the council. But you probably know they've experienced some turmoil this spring, resulting in some vacancies. So let's just take a little look at who's been appointed. So we have a gal by the name of Pam Haley. She's a small business owner. She holds a master's degree in business and education. And what she says, skills that she's bringing to her role as a council member are budgeting, community partnerships, children's issues, negotiating, consulting, and local issues. So she was the first appointment. And then we had Caleb Collier. And Caleb is a postal worker with the USPS. And he includes history and politics among his interests. He feels he has skills in leadership and teamwork acquired while serving with the U.S. Marine Corps. He is a PCO, and he does hold a Bachelor of Arts degree in history. And then we have Mike Munch. And many of you, I guess, know Mike. And he joined the council July 26th. That was a vacancy created with the resignation of Bill Bates and pro tem council member Bill Gothman. And so he's going to serve in the position until November of 2017. He's a self-employed general contractor. His company is Able Construction. And so you can see his top priorities there. So those are the new members of the Spokane City Council, Spokane Valley City Council. Wish we had that kind of turnover in the Spokane City Council. Jeez. So the results for the primary, as you've heard a couple times here, are not going to be certified until August 16th, but I don't think we're going to be seeing any changes, so let's just go through some of these pretty carefully. I listed Republican first, Democrat second, so I didn't have to put R's and D's on there. And for the position of state treasurer, both those people are Republicans. And so I think you can see that it's going to be a very interesting general election. And when you look at the numbers of people that were running in that governor's race, I think Bill Bryant has a pretty darn good chance of winning this thing. Need to get the vote out, need to get your feet working and doorbelling and that kind of thing. If you look at the results in comparison, like Spokane County, Bryant was 44%, Inslee was 40%. So, Spokane County, we know that we're more conservative over here, but we've got to get the people in Eastern Washington out in force to combat that Western Washington influence. So it's very important. In public land, Steve McLaughlin did very well. And his number two there is Mary Werner, who you all know is the ex-mayor. Public education is a nonpartisan race, so I'm not sure. I think they're both Democrats, but I'm not sure. And so there you go with those races. And then we have our local legislative positions. And our Laura Carter came in second against Tim Ormsby there. And I think that's pretty cool. And I'd really like to see the Spokane County GOP get behind Laura and help her some. I think that's, when you're operating all by yourself, I think that's pretty impressive. 4th District Rep, we have Matt Shea, of course, at 60%. But this Stuckart guy is a little weird because he didn't do a thing. I mean, he didn't put signs up, he didn't wave his hands, I think he had 2 contributions. So I think it's really something. There's a couple seats up here, right in the front here. So maybe it's just sort of testing the waters to see how things are, but I don't think I'd discount them. I think we just need to keep our eyes on them. 6th District, this was a surprise. We had Ian Field, Sam Canty, and another gentleman who preferred not to declare any party running. So we had Sam and Ian and Mike running as Republicans, and then Lynette was the nurse that was here, if you were here that week, representing the Democrats. And Mike was very, very outspent, and he's turned me into a believer that doorbelling works. I don't know, is Mike here yet? He's going to get shot if he doesn't walk in the door in a minute here. But it's really sort of fun to see him talk about his suit jacket, because it's overlapping at this point, the amount of weight he lost doorbelling. It was sort of cool. And then we have in the 6th district, and this again was one of those that, no, not this one in position 2, is Jeff Holy, 58%, and Shar Litchke, 42%. So I don't think Jeff's going to have a problem there, but I am going to have to skip my next slide because I didn't miss anything. What did I miss? I missed something. Well, they're Republican, Democrat. I didn't put the percentages up. That's who's in the top 2. What about what? Yeah, I'll be 7th and 9th. I didn't do. So anyway, thank you, John. So I was asking Mike to be here this evening to sort of tell us a little bit about his campaign and what he did in order to, come out number 2 there for the ballot, and what we can do to help him. Suggested he bring signs and sign-up sheets, but he's not here, so I can't say too much other than I do think it was the best person won this race. He's certainly very highly qualified, and I think he's going to be a great addition to Olympia. Now in the County Commissioner District 1, and Josh, I also have to acknowledge you for letting me know that doorbelling works. Darn it, it really does, because again, this was a situation where Josh was very outspent. And if you have been anywhere around Spokane County, you know he was also outsigned. I mean, I've never seen so many Nancy McLaughlin signs in my life as what we've had. So I think those results, at least to me, were surprising. Now, when you look at that race, even though you see it's Josh at 32 and Candace at 38, the Republicans in that race received over 61% of the votes, with Josh beating out Nancy by about 4 points to qualify for one of the top 2 positions on the general ballot. So I don't think that we should have a problem with that race as far as the Republicans winning that. So what I'd like to do is ask Josh to come up and talk to us a little bit. Really, congratulations, a huge congratulations, and just take a few minutes to just comment on the primary and let us know your plans for the general elections. So.
What's that? Well, I don't know how much weight Mike lost, but I have lost over 30 pounds. So.
So any of those of you that spend money on diets and that type of thing, just partner up with Mike and Josh.
Money,
go
don't
doorbelling.
Get a gym membership. Just come talk to me. We'll go out. We'll spread the message of freedom, and we'll drop pounds with us at the same time. So. That's a losing proposition. No. I want to thank each and every one of you that supported me on the campaign. It was absolutely, it's so far, and it's going to continue. It is one of the most amazing experiences of my life. I've loved meeting folks out there, hearing their concerns, really what they want to see out of their government. We came in this with. Knowing it was going to be an uphill battle, it was going to be a lot of work, but we came in with a message of pro-growth, pro-business, growing our way out of the problems we face, not increasing taxes, a pro-property rights message, and that really resonated with the folks of this county. Doorbelling, the Cecily talked on. 44 precincts is the number of precincts that I was in and completed in this primary. 44 precincts completed.
Now in the general election, it's countywide, right?
It's countywide.
You might lose another 30.
We're going to see. We're going to keep our aggressive ground game going. We're going to be touching base with the voters. The the thing that I'm most happy about and pleased about was on the previous slide of showing the numbers that Candace Mum put up. She is under 39%. That is the lowest percentage that a Democrat has put up in a primary in Commissioner District 1 in over 15 years.
Woo!
So we are positioned to take this. We have a message that is going to resonate countywide. We've got a ground game out there. I am going to ask you folks, please come join me on this campaign. Let's work together. Let's get results for Spokane County. I need your help. We've got a lot of doors to hit. We've got a lot of doorbelling. Michael Cathcart has been helping me out tonight, circulating a sheet there. If you'd like to put down your information, endorse the campaign. We also boxes on there you can check whether you want to put a yard sign in your front yard. I've got signs with me. I brought in a handful of them tonight. If those go, I've got a bunch more in the truck. Please, I would appreciate it if you'd put a sign out. Show your neighbors who you're supporting. Help me get my name out there countywide. But then, the part we all hate doing, on the back table there, you'll find these envelopes. These are what keep the campaigns going. And I'll tell you one thing right now. Candace Mum, she's going to go out there and try to take your money. I'm asking for it. And this is what... So I'd love to have your support. My opponent, Candace Mum, is going to be backed by some major unions, some major environmental extremists. I want to be backed by you guys. I want to be backed by the grassroots, the conservatives in this county, and that's how we're going to take this all the way to November on a victory, November 8th. It's going to be a wonderful evening, and we're going to get results for Spokane County. Thank you.
Thank you, Josh. And just for those of you that didn't turn around, Michael Cathcart's in the back corner, and he does have a sign-up thing, and really, it's really fun, especially before it gets rainy and snowy and everything, to work on these campaigns. So volunteer early and, get your time in, and you won't be out in the rain and the snow. Then, of course, of District 2, we have Shelley O'Quinn and Andrew Biviano. You met them both the other night. And that one looks like it's pretty well wrapped up for Shelley. So we're going to switch gears here. Because I think a lot of you, when we hear about regulations, I don't know how many of you listened to Trump's economic talk this week where, your regulations are costing over $108 billion. They put businesses out of work and all this kind of, so we sort of think business, and hey, they don't affect us, right? So what I really want you to get tonight is that government regulations can really impact everyday, ordinary citizens. And back in the back corner there, I've asked Sherry Doval to be here tonight to talk to us about this situation, but Brett Rausch is also here, and they run Readout News. So you might want to meet them. Brett, do you want to wave your hands there or tip your hat? Very good. And Sherry, come on up here, because I've asked her to really bring us up to date on this latest EPA travesty, because it's crazy what our government's doing to American citizens. Welcome, Sherry. Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you very much for asking us.
I'll hold that for her. I'll put it up on the fireplace here.
Occasionally I have a Rubio moment when I'm speaking to a crowd.
Okay,
Is this better?
That's good.
Oh, I can hear myself all the time, even when I'm sleeping. I'm Sherry Doval. I'm with ReadoutNews.com. We are a conservative online news outlet telling you what the mainstream media will not tell you. And I think I'm here to preach to the choir. It sure looks like it. I've met Joe Robertson several times. He put in a few stock ponds on his property. He had permission. He had permits. And they decided, they changed their mind. So they brought in the EPA, and the EPA did a whole series of events that ended up in his conviction. He was recently sentenced to 18 months on 3 different charges. He was facing 15 years. He's 77 years old. He's a disabled vet. He has a service dog, and they took him from the courtroom without even letting him say goodbye to his wife. All because he put stock ponds on his property.
Very dangerous criminal.
Oh, he's a horrible man. I tell you what, all he wanted to do was have some protection for his community because they have a lot of fires up on his mountain. And that's their job. They have a big tanker truck and I don't know that kind of equipment, but they have all this stuff that they share with their neighbors and with the community and try to keep everybody safe. And he has also, coincidentally, a lot of uranium on his property.
Oh, no.
That's just a coincidence, though. Nobody's gonna, remember that one later. They have fined him, well, on the one issue, $130,000. That includes permitting fees, of which permits are unnecessary, as has been proven. But they're going to fine him for it anyway. So then, on top of that, though he qualified for a public defender, they want him to pay his public defender $12,000. And then there's some other incidentals. He has got so many fees and fines facing that he may be forced to sell some of his property, if not all of it. I talked to his wife today. He's not doing so good physically. He's, like I say, he's 77 years old. The day after they took him from the courtroom, he had chest pains and was in the hospital. They settled his system down. They finally got him with a doctor, straightened out his medications, and before he could receive his medications, they moved him from Missoula to Shelby, Montana. So they have to start that process all over again, find him another doctor, etc. Carrie, his wife, is only telling me what she thinks is happening, but she's not allowed to talk to him every day anymore. He's run out of money on his phone card. She wants to send him more money, but it takes 30 days to get pre-approved in order for her to do that. And she can't visit him until she's pre-approved also. They aren't making it easy for her to get all this done, though she has sent in the paperwork requesting it. In the meantime, he does not have his doctor, he does not have his medications, and he's having chest pains again. They have also told him that before the 30 days is done, he may be moved to Oregon. They've also mentioned Arizona. And Colorado has come up in conversation. It's called diesel therapy. They're trying to break him, and it's just affecting him in every way you can possibly imagine. They're having a very hard time with this. His attorney has been working for the man who pays him, which has not been Joe to this point. They did get the notice of appeal filed, but there's been no appeal brief filed, so he's still not working for Joe. They are hoping to replace him, but that has not officially been done at this point.
It takes money to defend yourself, unfortunately.
Yes, it does. And she did have a Fundly account that was brought up in court at the sentencing as a reason that Joe could pay for his own attorney. She had a couple of $100s in there at that point, and the government shut it down, and she can't get the money. So they've done some logging to try and pay for some of this. It's just, a very hard situation. Like I say, that he's elderly and he's not there. He can't even run the tractor for her when she needs it done. They won't let him see a service dog. That poor dog Sasha just kind of runs around with her head hung down all the time. Adorable thing, but she needs to be at work. That's what she does.
I know, I'm looking right at the machine and I can't figure it out. So how many people that you've talked to about this? I mean, you guys have been publishing this information. You've gone to the hearings. You know what's going on. So what's the general feeling of people as far as what's next?
They need a new attorney. They do have a name of somebody who is willing to get on board, but it's not official yet, like I say, so they've asked me not to put his name out. Mike Donahoe has not been removed from the case yet. Once that's done, then we can mention who it is. It's a attorney from out of state, but he is going to work pro bono for him. So that would be the best thing. They need to get an appeal done. There was a bail hearing to see if he can be released pending appeal, but Mike Donahoe did not give him any reason to accept that, so Judge Malloy denied it. Yes.
Let me get you on the video. Well, no. I want it so people, this is interesting. Now, this last year, 2 years, we've been videotaping all of our events. We just had an event that passed over 6,000 views. So we look at our room and it's full tonight, and that's really great, but message is getting out a lot farther. So we need the comments so that people don't lose interest. They want to hear what the question is.
I do not want to start something that will cause a problem, but would there be any reason we could not pass a hat tonight? And would you be able to get that somewhere that would help him?
I could get that money to his wife, yes.
I don't have a hat, but I do have a start for it.
The biggest thing you can do is, number one, keep them in your prayers. They are very close to God, and they definitely appreciate it when somebody will do that for them. And yes, I can get anything else to them.
Well, I think the other thing that we need to realize is that these EPA regulations are impacting and affecting a lot of people. I think you have an update on another situation
I have
for
a
us.
couple of other updates I can give you if you like.
Please.
But yes, the EPA regulations, am I? Okay. EPA regulations are kind of just like the Hillary defense. They are for some people, but not for everyone. Can I update on the Bundys?
Sure.
Okay. Last week, Ryan Bundy had a hearing in which they were discussing whether or not to remove the metal fragments from his arm. I don't know if they were fragments or if they were a bullet. There's different reports on that. He refused the procedure. This morning at 6 a.m., he was awoken by 5 guards that told him he had an appointment and he was leaving the facilities. He asked where. They did not tell him. So he refused to go. They slammed him to the floor, they handcuffed him, and they took him out of the detention center. He was gone for several hours, came back. Nobody knows where he went. They are not releasing that information. His wife cannot find out at this point. There is different conflicting reports as to whether or not he's in solitary, but he is being detained for not cooperating with the guards, and he's going to have a hearing on that in a few days because he didn't just cooperate easily. That's the update I've got on them, other than the fact that John Ritzheimer is scheduled to plead guilty. I also just returned from Twin Falls. We met the family of the little 5-year-old girl.
Ooh.
If you would like me to update you on that one.
Please. That one just makes me ill. You want to know what the 5-year-old... yeah.
A quick background
Yes, she
on
will.
that one? Absolutely. On June 2nd, a 5-year-old girl was raped in Twin Falls by refugees. They were refugee children, 3 boys. 4 boys, actually. They're only looking at 3. The little girl has claimed there was 4, and the eyewitness has claimed there was 4. The prosecutor has said there's only 3, age 7, 10, and 14. The 7-year-old was directed on how to abuse this girl. The 10-year-old actually was a part of that. It came out in court last Thursday that she was actually, by statute and more, raped. It was not just an assault. It wasn't just a molestation. By statute, they raped her. She is scared to death. She hides in a closet every day. She's had no therapy. Victim Services has not helped her. It's a young couple with 2 young children. They don't know everything they need to know yet. They don't even know all the right questions to ask. The victim services advocate that was supposed to be on their side has been removed, and the prosecutor, Grant Loebs, has become their advocate. But he has not provided them with counseling. He has not provided them with help in relocating. They are moving from motel to motel because of threats. He did not even inform them that there was new evidence that would be presented in court last Thursday, and they were shocked and appalled when they heard what it was, which was the fact that there was at least 2 violators of their daughter. When somebody asked about the father seeing the videotape, he saw 30 seconds of it and had to just about throw it away. He couldn't handle anymore, which I can't blame him for that, and the mother has not seen any of it. The mother is physically ill. She already had a problem. She's looking at if they can get it under control, possibly being on the transplant list. So her health issues are very severe, and the stress, of course, is adding to it. Yes, ma'am. Okay, her father was at work. The question is, where were her parents? The father was at work. The mother was outside watching them, but she took a quick bathroom break. Okay, she ran inside real quick, came back out, and they were gone. She's looking all over. The neighbor found them. They were in a laundry room. The 14-year-old was directing the event, and he was videotaping the event.
From his phone?
Yeah. He tried to get rid of the video from the phone, but it was retained. So they do have that evidence. They have been protecting the boys. The U.S. Attorney Wendy Olson came out and pretty much threatened anybody for saying anything inappropriate about the refugee boys. She did not come out advocating for the 5-year-old girl, but
Have any charges been filed yet?
that's very unclear as to the actual charges because they're keeping it very secretive and close to the vest because of juveniles being involved. At least that's the reason they're giving. They say they will be filing charges on at least 2 of the boys, but they have, like I said, they have not been very specific on that and very public about it.
Okay.
Like I say, I know I'm preaching to the choir, but if we don't stand up and voice our opinion, we're going to be preaching to the communists here pretty soon. Honestly.
Well, I think what's so sad in the case of the little girl is that it really does seem, from what I've read, is that the boys are being far more protected and taken care of.
Oh yeah, their families
than
got
the girl's
relocated
family.
easily, and the victim's family, like I say, is moving from motel to motel.
I saw a couple articles written by so-called journalists that are attacking the family, the mother, and then they went after the father. Instead of going after the perpetrators, they're going literally after the victims. I saw this in 2 separate cases of these, like I said, so-called journalists trying to twist the narrative.
Mm-hmm. That's absolutely true. The Twin Falls Times News editor, Matt Christensen, wrote an op-ed calling it a scary fairy tale. The day that it came out and made public, they called Snopes and asked them to debunk this quickly. And what they're doing is they're trying to nitpick the fact that it came out as Syrian refugees. In actual fact, they were Sudanese and Iraqi. They were all Muslim, but they didn't want to focus on that issue. They just want to say it was false because they were not Syrian. So everything is false.
Well, Sherry, I want to thank you so much for coming. Would you tell everybody a little bit about where they can hear you on Readout News?
Absolutely. We do have cards back there. We are readoutnews.com. We cover all of the American Readout, which is Idaho, Montana, Wyoming, Eastern Oregon, and Eastern Washington.
When are
Yes,
you
sir.
going to have a read out news app for smartphones?
Well, actually, I can read it on my smartphone now, but when it comes to apps, you'll have to ask the top-notch IT guy back there. He's the one who handles all of my computer work. I just write the articles. And if anybody wants to help contribute content on any issues here, please do. I'm always looking for help on that end.
Right. So do get a card from them. They're back there in another corner, but on the other side there.
Thank you.
Thank you, Sherry. Okay, so now we are going to go on to hear from Senator Brian Dansel. He's going to fill us in on the Trump campaign. And what I think is really exciting, he's going to tell us a little bit about his 45-minute talk meeting with Donald at convention. Privately, I mean, this was pretty cool. So he's probably going to be able to tell us what the Donald's really like. And maybe he can also tell us what's going to be happening in our region.
Well, thank you. The first thing I wanted to say, I'm not one of these guys that's losing weight, so congratulations to Josh and Mike. Going the opposite way. Even from that picture right there, I only had 2 chins there. I'm on at least 3 right now. First of all, I want to thank John and Cecily for doing this. This is one of the, here's a second. This is one of the real great organizations here in Spokane, and I've been really blessed to be able to work with these guys on the Trump campaign and get to know them just a little bit better, as well as many people. I see John Christina there, another one of the stalwart conservatives that Bruce Thompson, some of these guys been around and done this quite a bit. And so the first thing I want to point out is, and I'm just going to take a little bit of the speaker's prerogative here, but it was an absolutely amazing upset victory that Josh Kearns had that I've never seen anything like it.
Woo!
One of the things Mr. Trump asked me, because Josh met Trump at the Spokane Arena when he came up here, and he asked, hey, how's your buddy doing, the guy that's running for office? And this is in Cleveland, you know, and so I'm going, well, he's hitting it hard, he's doing good. I sent him a text message, and hopefully he's got that by now, but even Trump was asking about Josh Kearns, so that tells you what kind of guy you got there.
Well, I think what that tells me is look at all the rallies he does, and he remembered. Wow.
He definitely remembers. He remembers Spokane, Washington. As a matter of fact, he does not short circuit. No. No, really, it was really quite an event to go back to. I was called about a week and a half before the convention started and asked if I wanted to go to the convention. And it kind of looked like maybe I was going to get to go and maybe not. And so here's the story. It's kind of an interesting story on how it all went down. The reason I think that I got to meet with Mr. Trump on the 3rd day of the convention was because, and I don't know if anybody knows this, but who here has seen the movie Goonies? Has anybody seen Goonies? Has anybody seen like Cops and Robertsons or... Okay, well, the actor Robert Davi, and he's been a villain on James Bond. He did voiceover work for the Republican National Convention in 2008. He's been on Fox and Friends. He's been on MSNBC. He writes an article for Breitbart. Real true blue conservative guy, and he was out there stumping for Trump really early on, and they wouldn't let him on the floor of the convention. It was really a really super bizarre thing, but the RNC folks said, no, we can't have him out there. And here's this guy that's on like 3 shows a week, and he's a famous actor. He does a knockoff of Sinatra. He's a good singer. He has like a cooking show over in Italy for like 3 months out of the year. Really kind of a cool guy. Well, they wouldn't give him a floor pass to go onto the floor of the convention, and so I'm sitting there. And I love the guy because I like James Bond movies and I like Goonies. Don't judge me, but a lot of people said I look like the kid that does the truffle shuffle in Goonies. Anyway, so I gave him my pass and I said, damn it, this isn't right. You've been there with Mr. Trump from the get-go, so you go out there, enjoy yourself. He'd already secured the nomination. That was another really cool thing to watch Trump's son give Trump the necessary delegates to secure the nomination. That was a pretty cool deal. So anyway, I gave him my pass. I had to get out of there now because I don't have the right credentials on. And anybody that's been to a convention, if you don't have it's almost kind of a scary deal. So I just got out of there real quick and went back to the hotel and didn't think anything of it. And the next morning, and these things also, and again, folks that have been there know this, but the convention starts so late at night that, especially on the second, third, and fourth days, that you don't get out of there until midnight probably, and then the transportation is a nightmare, so you get home at 1. By the time maybe you have a little bit of a cocktail or something, or maybe some, a meal, you're not in bed till 2:30 or 3 in the morning. So anyway, just imagine kind of that scenario. And so I go to bed, wake up, and I think it's it must have been 11 o'clock in the morning, but I felt like I hardly got any sleep. And so I was rooming with Senator Don Benton from Vancouver. And I wish I could I almost had a picture taken just before I knew this was happening, just to show how lousy. I mean, I looked terrible. I go down there, my hair's all messed up and everything like that. Well, the next thing I know, I got a phone call from Trump's personal security guard that's been with him for 22 years. And he says, "Hey, Mr. Trump would like to see you guys. All right, where are you at?" I said, "Well, we're at the Westin." And he goes, "Yeah, I know. Where at in the Westin?" "Well, we're down having breakfast." And again, I look like I look like a farm boy from Republic is what I look like that hadn't slept the night before, which is pretty fitting. And he goes, "Okay, well, I'm going to come get you." Well, I thought he's going to come get us in an hour or two or whatever. And nope, right then he comes around the corner. "Senator Dansel, Senator Benton, you got to come with me now." We go in. There's 8 Secret Service agents in the elevator. And we go up to the very top floor. And we took a right, and then we took a left. And there was at least 40 Secret Service agents, I would say, on each side of the hall, standing shoulder to shoulder. So if you're going to try any funny business, I thought to myself, actually, because there was the 8 behind us, me and Don, about ready to you-know-what in our pants, and then the personal security guy that was, Trump's man for 22 years in front of us. And so you're thinking, I hope I don't make any sudden movements, because there's a whole army of people that could destroy me right now. And I'm still not awake, really. I'm kind of still fuzzy from the night before. All right, so we get there. Door opens. It's Ivanka Trump. She's about 6 foot tall, I think. She's a very, very tall lady. And her husband, Jared Kushner, and Don Jr. was there. And the only 2 that I didn't get to meet really were Tiffany and then their younger one, Barron. But everybody else I got to meet there. And so we had the pleasure of sitting and talking with Mr. Trump for 45 minutes. And we tried to give him honest feedback. He wanted to know how things on the ground were. He thinks Washington's a battleground state, by the way, and he's investing some money and resources and time into Washington State, and nobody's even tried that since Bush Sr. in '88. So I think that shows you, that he's dedicated to try and be here. And oh, by the way, I think he'll be here on the 30th of August in the state of Washington.
How about Spokane?
I don't know about Spokane yet, because what they're doing is a fundraiser in Seattle for Republican candidates, and then they're going to probably do something pretty close to Seattle. But we do have the assurances that there will be another one after that will be on the east side of the mountains, and so Spokane, and then we're going to have 2 in Oregon as well. But it started off really bizarre. It was kind of a weird meeting. We were sitting there, and the other thing that I love about Trump, total junk food guy, right? He just loves McDonald's. He doesn't eat I thought the funniest story ever was when Benton was on his airplane, and he's expecting, the stewardess to come out with caviar, fine wines, or whatever, and she goes, what was it? "Mr. Trump, lunch is ready to be served. Would you like your fish witch or your Big Mac?" So I thought that was kind of a neat deal. So there he is again, and the first thing he asked me was hey, he goes, "Hey, bud, you want a Mountain Dew?" And so I go, "Sure." I don't even like Mountain Dew, but if Donald Trump says, "You want a Mountain Dew?" I'm going to go get a Mountain Dew. So I go and get a Mountain Dew, and he's like, "Hey, grab one for me while you're at it. Grab one for me." And so it was unbelievable. It must be a sign of success or somebody that can multitask real well, because he was simultaneously watching CNN just totally lambaste him. He was talking to his son about a business deal somewhere, and he was talking to Don and I about if we thought Mike Pence was a good vice presidential pick. It was really heady stuff. I'd never expected to be asked that, and I don't even really know if he listened to me on that answer. I didn't get a word out of his mouth, and he goes, "Yeah, I know. I think he's going to do real good. He's a pretty conservative guy and got a good record, and he's been able to turn things around in Indiana." And again, I don't really think I said a word, but as long as the boss man wanted Pence, I thought that was good. And then we got a little bit more serious. He talked about things that meant a lot to him, and he asked what were some of the things that we thought the message could be on the ground that would help him. And, you know, I come from an area where private property rights are important. The Second Amendment's important. And we just got done hearing about what can be done to somebody's life if regulations are too burdensome and just nuts, straight up crazy. And so it was funny, the regulation piece he caught on to real quick, and he goes, yeah, I know, I've had experience with that. Well, I'm sitting here trying to tell him about how I can't get a building permit on some land my granddaddy gave me, you know, 20 years ago, and he was talking about being able to get permits and get exemptions and variances to be able to build a hotel in Chicago. That was so not too similar, but he was talking about that, and he lived that. And so when you hear him talking about the wall, and he said, you know, what's preventing us from putting the wall up now is NEPA and all this, the processes that you have to go through. I really believe 100% that he means when he says he wants to eliminate a whole multitude of regulations, keep the ones that might make sense, and pare down this government and make it a smaller, more effective machine. And I think that was very clear. The next thing he went to was guns. And his sons are really into guns. He's into guns a lot too. His favorite gun, by the way, is a 1911 pistol, which I kind of like too. It's kind of a nice deal. I've got a couple of different varieties of the 1911. So I thought that was kind of a cool deal. And then his kids talked about hunting, and so then I hit him with something that's really near and dear to my heart. But you might have read even recently that we're having trouble with wolves up in my neck of the woods. So. He was talking about the need for being able to manage wildlife, which led us into a discussion that was great about public lands and what we're going to do with our public lands. I don't know, I can't tell you that he just made a 100% commitment to turn federal lands back over to the state, but I can tell you that he wants to end the days of environmental groups suing and stopping timber sales and mining jobs through the cost of just a postage stamp. So I think that's a great step in the right direction, and one where I think that we can actually start getting back on the land and doing some stuff. I don't think a lot of people realize where the timber excise sales tax used to go to, and that's to schools and to the county road fund. And so it's a little bit, in my opinion, of a way that we can try and balance the budget at the state level too. If we can have some of those extra dollars rolling in, I think it would be a relief to the general fund, and we wouldn't have to just stuff everything in the general fund. And at the same time, you would take people that are looking for work right now, that are trained in the areas of forestry, that could get back into the job force, and they would be then off the dole and paying into the system while making money for not only people and wealth and growing wealth, but it would also help the state coffers too, and also the school districts in the county. So I don't really see what the negative is, and neither did Mr. Trump. So I was very excited about that. He looked to be about halfway through the thing, and he wanted to know about taxes, what it's like to be a Washington state resident and what our tax burden is. And so I had told him about the B&O tax, and I told him we need simplification, but we need no more taxes. We need less. We need lower tax rates, and we also need the assurances from the federal government that they're not going to move the target on you every time. Anybody that's owned a business knows that when the government gets in there and they get their hands on anything, they change the target and the rules. And I'll tell you a story about my coffee shop up in Republic sometime that you won't even believe about self-closing hinges on bathroom doors, which is, it was a crazy deal. Okay, so then after that I wanted to go to one of the more interesting parts was he shut the TV off. He got sick of politics, and he turned on golf of all things. And so he's watching golf, and they're just hanging out the third day of the convention. And that's when, I think that's right when Eric came up, because he wasn't there at first. And then Eric and his wife came up. And all the kids, by the way, I mean, it really is true what they say. They are very remarkable people, well-spoken, professionals. They know what they're doing. I think one of them is probably going to run for office someday. I'm not sure about that, but they could. They very well could. I think they have the ability to. After that, we talked about what the campaign's going to do. And the campaign, I don't think that one of the things that I love about Trump, I don't think that he's going to get off of his message. And I don't think that he's going to change for the betterment of the establishment people in the Republican Party. And to that, I say, thank God and finally. I think that that's well past due in a presidential candidate. One of the issues that he talked about going forward was having to try and compete in so many states, because let's face it, Republicans don't really compete that often. When's the last time that we were actually competitive in Florida, Ohio, Oregon, Wisconsin, Washington State, New Jersey? I think he's going to make her spend a lot of money in New York. I think he's going to make her spend a lot of money in states that Democrats typically win, and they win pretty easily. And the reason that they win pretty easily is because, in my opinion, we always have candidates that try to kind of walk the middle a little bit too carefully. And I think it's totally refreshing to have a guy just say what he believes, even if you don't agree with it all the time. And so he was very blunt. I'm not going to lie to you and say that he's has the cleanest mouth ever, but I'm all right with that. My grandmother didn't even have the cleanest mouth. I think one of the things of substance that he wanted to see for Eastern Washington was light industrial and manufacturing. And I think that's something where maybe Commissioner Kearns, soon to be Commissioner Kearns here, could work with the president on trying to establish and initiate some new ventures within Spokane County that would help in those regards. But he read the stats back to me, because he keeps all this stuff. It's amazing, the guy's mind, but he keeps it all up here. And he said, yeah, I want to say that you went from this percent manufacturing, and I didn't know. I'd have to have the stats right in front of me, to be honest with you. But later on, I looked it up, and he was pretty close. He actually kind of knew what was going on in the state of Washington. And then he knew also that Jay Inslee was an environmental nut job.
Yeah.
And so I think just being able to know that is a good skill to be able to combat that in the future. And he also said, listen, we're going to make this like the 1984 race. We're going to win Washington State. We think we're going to win Washington State. We think that we have the Reagan Democrats, that we have coalitions built now. And if you really take a look at it, in the state of Washington, and they say because of Trump, I'm not sure, but the state Senate, the people that are concerned about the state Senate races that work for the caucus, they have come back and they've said that 2 new districts in the state of Washington are back within the margin of error because of Donald Trump, because of his ideas on trade, and also because there is 2 clear choices on the Second Amendment in this presidential race, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton. Trump got into a little bit of hot water on that today, which is total nonsense. What a joke. But that was the other part there. The media was looking, they were just dying to see if there was something bad that would happen. They were tripping over themselves to try and find a fight, and there never was one really, so really interesting. Moving forward on the campaign, what he wanted us to do originally, which I thought would have been kind of a waste of time, frankly, was to make Washington State a call center for the entire United States. So in other words, we would just sit here in the state of Washington and call the swing states, Ohio and wherever that he was going to be really in play. And that's been heightened a little bit from that to a more active status, where we're actually going to take the show on the road. We're going to do a barnstorm tour in the state of Washington and try to rev everybody up and get voter registration numbers through the roof. If you have anybody that you know wants to vote for Donald Trump but isn't a registered voter, get them registered. I've got some registration forms back there by Michael Cathcart and County Treasurer Rob Chase. And we think that we can do, the statistics that we see is we have more people that are willing to vote for Trump but aren't registered than we've ever had willing to vote for presidential candidates that haven't been registered. So keep in mind, when you're thinking about elections, regardless of what election you're talking about, it is literally 5% of the people, of the population, that determines the outcomes of elections. Now, a lot of people think that I'm lying about that, but really think about this for a second. Not the electorate, the population. Everybody under the age of 18 can't vote. There's another 25% of the people over the age of 18 that choose not to register to vote. Then of those that register to vote, hey, Mike, what's the latest percentage of Spokane County that's turned out? 36% of the registered voters actually vote. And so when you pare it down, it turns out to be about 5% of the population determines who wins elections. Terrible, right? What did everybody sacrifice everything for so we had the right to vote? What I'm saying is, if you know anybody that just is going to sit at home, the only thing that we can do to win the state of Washington, I think, is overpower King County. It's about time that we've done that. We think that we have the ability, and Trump, more importantly, Trump thinks that we can. You know, Trump sees that the longshoremen are staying out. They were going to originally endorse Bernie Sanders, but even some of the longshoremen are now coming over to Trump. And so as long as we don't self-annihilate in the Republican Party by more and more people coming out and either not supporting the candidate, and it's really, really bizarre, right? Because I just have to get this off my chest, and I think a lot of people will agree with this. But I absolutely hated voting for John McCain and Mitt Romney. But I did. I did because that was what you do, either that or you get Barack Obama. Okay. Well, turnabout is fair play. All right? All right, so we finally got a candidate that the right kind of likes quite a bit, and we got to vote for this guy. Either that or we're going to have 50 years of a terrible Supreme Court. We're going to have one of the worst things that happens with the governor in this state or the president is how many appointments unelected bureaucrats are appointed. And I think it's like 5,700 when you're president. 5,700 appointments. And so if nothing else, I would love to see a businessman get in there. And this is what we talked about too, and he was very, very adamant about this. He said, we need, quite frankly, I don't even think it's me, he says. I think we need a businessman's approach to be able to straighten out that mess alone. The 5,700 appointments and all the bureaucracies and all the agencies that aren't accountable, that know that if you just add 10% onto last year's budget into next year's budget, nobody's probably going to ask it because they probably don't know to ask or how to ask or who to ask. And by the time that a continuing resolution or a budget is ever passed, you're going to see a growth in government like we've seen now, where we have almost $21 trillion in debt. And to listen to him talk about what he wanted to do with bureaucracies and agencies really gave me hope for America, quite frankly, because he wants to do an independent and hardcore study on every single agency, on every position, and if they can get rid of them through attrition or if the position's not needed, he's going to let them go. And I have to tell you, to me, it was a moment, and I know you guys will remember this moment. Does anybody remember the moment when Ronald Reagan fired the air traffic controllers? I got the same feeling. I got goosebumps when he was talking about it. Because this guy, he's not going to put up with that nonsense. He's not going to put up with the EPA going out of control, because this is a guy that's been directly, negatively impacted millions and millions of dollars by the EPA.
Well, and what you just described is why you have so many different people coming after him from all angles against him, because they don't want their party in Washington, D.C. disrupted. They want it to stay the way it is. And so it doesn't matter, Republican, Democrat, powerful elite, whatever, they don't want him in because he's going to ruin their game.
Oh, it's true. I think it's very true. And I think that's honestly why a lot of people, I get a lot of Democrats tell me they're going to vote for Trump, a lot of independents. The polling to me is just totally hilarious. And we get memos every single week on our conference calls, after our conference calls, saying the polling, and you probably saw the articles that have come out now and kind of debunk that, but the polling is very favorable for Trump. We think, I don't want to get ahead of myself, but I don't think it's totally impossible for Trump to win 40 states. Wow. I mean, the way the map's looking and the way that the numbers come in and the numbers I see that are done with internal polling and not just focusing on major metropolitan areas. Sure, if you go to Seattle and Portland, who do you think they're going to favor there, Hillary Clinton or Donald Trump? Obvious, they're going to favor Hillary Clinton. But when you get out in America, what I like to call free America, over here in Spokane Valley, for example, you're going to get people that are voting for Trump, and the people that aren't going to vote for Trump are the people that are going to always be the Gary Johnson voters and the Jill Stein voters and the Ralph Nader. I mean, very few people vote for those people anyway. But in this other deal with this guy that I can't even remember his name, that's running as another Republican, that's not going to get on the ballot. I can't remember his name even, but that's not registering either. Yeah, the security guard guy. So anyway, we're looking forward to it. We're going to start this Barnstorm tour here coming up in a couple of weeks. We're going to try and hit every single town in the state of Washington, and we're going to go nuts with trying to register voters and really grassroots it and try to get some of Mr. Trump's surrogates up here. We're trying to get some pretty big names that have that are not typically in Washington State. I think Huckabee is interested. We're looking at Ben Carson, Michael Cathcart. I was seeing if anybody was listening. Now that would be the Rand Paul tour if Cathcart. anyway, and that's kind of an interesting deal too. I'll say this, and then I'll kind of, if there's any questions anybody has, but I got into politics. I was very much a Ron Pauler. That's who I read his book and I thought, hey, there's a guy that won't lie. You might not like everything he says, but he ain't going to lie to you. I get the exact same feeling from Trump. It might be a little bit different on the issues, but he's a guy that if he believes something, he's going to tell it to you, tell it to your face. And also, he's not going to sit there and go, no, I think the TPP would be great. Let's pass that. So he's got a kind of a backbone, and he knows, how to make a buck or two, which it's really incredible to me. And I think I'll leave it with this, but maybe the biggest story in the history of national politics is a guy that amassed $10 billion of wealth. And I don't know about you folks, but if it was me, I'd probably be on a tropical beach or hunting or camp, like on the golf course. I would not be spending it. To date, it's $91 million of his own dollars to try and give back to the country that made him able to better himself and his family. And I think that's really an interesting story that we need to tell. And that's what we're going to try to do in the state of Washington. We're going to try to tell the story of Trump what's that? Public virtue. It is, very much public virtue. We're going to tell the story about Annabelle Hill, the lady in Georgia who owned a farm, and they got behind because they had a couple of bad seasons, a couple of droughts, and what ended up happening was her husband, because they had gotten so far behind on their mortgages and their loans, decided to kill himself so that his wife could take the insurance money from his life insurance policy and pay off the debt. Well, it didn't come to enough. So the guy kills himself, and here's Annabelle Hill with 3 kids, hardworking Georgia blue-collar family, and it's 1983, I think, and Trump sees it on the TV, on the news channel, and he's watching news somewhere, and he sees that. Well, he calls up. Anyway, long story short, he bought the mortgage. He took care of that lady and her loans, and their family still farms on that farm today. And to me, that's the sort of thing that people need to know about. Another time, and he won't talk about this, but these are the things that we've gotten to know about him by talking with his kids and the people that are closest to him, and his assistant, who is even maybe more of a killer than he is. That lady, Rona, wow. I hope that she may be an advisor to Trump. This is a lady that rules with an iron fist, and I love her to death, but I wouldn't want to get on her bad side. But you can see why she was hired by Trump. I mean, she's serious business. But we want to tell those stories, and I think we're going to be able to in the state of Washington. I think we're going to win the state of Washington. And so I can't say how right Councilman Fagan was earlier when he said this is the most important election we've had. Because if we lose this, we are going to turn over the Supreme Court to the biggest group of activist left-wing judges that we have ever had in the history of this country. And with that goes your Second Amendment. And with that, who knows, your First Amendment. I'm really worried right now with your Fourth Amendment, the illegal search and seizures. And the 10th Amendment would be totally gone because they already believe states are political subdivisions of the federal government and not individual sovereign places. So that's, to me, we have a real question here. And I get so sick of people say, well, he's not true to exactly what I wanted to vote for. I don't know if I'm even true to what I want to vote for, and I vote for myself. That's one of those, honest to God. Give me a break on this a little bit. We either have Hillary Clinton, or you can waste your vote on about 4 different candidates that have no shot of winning, or you got Donald Trump. And so I got out at first because I loved, and Kearns and Cathcart will remember this, but I really got out on this thing pretty early because I thought, hey, there's a guy that's made a buck or two. He's not afraid to say what he believes, and we need that in this country. God, do we need it? Yeah. Who here gets sick of not being able to say Merry Christmas? Who here gets sick of every time that you try to do something on your property, you have to get another permit or another variance or another go for the planning commission? Who here gets sick of the city of Spokane disobeying federal law and becoming a sanctuary city? Who here gets sick of an activist city council that has never owned a business, but they think that you should be forced to pay your employees $15 an hour in paid sick leave? if you're sick of those things, maybe put a businessman in there that's had to deal with those considerations. And so I'll just end with saying, I'm a big believer that we got to do it. We have to make America great again, to steal his catchphrase, because if we don't, then what the hell are we going to do? I got a 3-year-old kid, and I'm sitting here going, what is it going to look like after 8 years of Hillary Clinton? Not what my kid's going to look like, but what the country's going to look like. You might worry about that too. Right. Always John with the zingers in there. We're going to win Idaho.
Well,
Yeah.
and she wants to know what sort of, because I had explained that you sort of are going to help out in North Idaho some too, so.
Right. So Senator Don Benton, who was the state director for Trump in Washington, has now been put in charge of 6 states. Idaho's one of them. Idaho's going to be, honest to God, Idaho's a good problem to have, because here's the problem with Idaho. We're probably not going to be able to get you a ton of resources because it's such a slam dunk that we're going to win there. It's like kind of like Texas and some of the other Republican states. We'll get stuff to you, and we're going to, obviously have a presence there, but I don't want to lie to you. It's probably not going to be to the extent that these battleground states will be.
I still feel uncomfortable putting up a sign on my lawn in Idaho for Trump. So that's something. Can you address that whole Trump sign thing?
I can't really. I just put signs up, and if people don't like it, then the hell with them. It's kind of the way I've always been.
You already answered that, but you're not concerned about the way the polls are coming out?
I'm not. I believe that I wholeheartedly can sit here and tell you that I think that we're going to be in play in 40 states. I don't know if we're going to win 40, but I think we're going to win. I think that he's going to have too big of a coalition amongst the working class. The blue-collar people are sick of the incompetence. So our internal polling is totally different than what you're seeing on and that's because they go out and they actually do it smart. They don't just go to, like I said, to Chicago and ask, hey, are you going to vote for Trump? They kind of make it more of a holistic approach than they do just focusing on the bigger metropolitan areas.
I left some of the little white cards in the back. If you sign up on the Facebook page as well as the email list, anything that we're doing as far as Trump goes will be posted there. So like if we're distributing signs, we'll put that up there. Right. So all of you, if you aren't on those lists, take the little white cards that are on the table. I also have a Trump page there to sign up for volunteering. I'd really like to see the Spokane County Fair booth, the GOP booth, have at least one Trump volunteer in it on all shifts. And so if you can work the fair, plop your name down on that. If you can do other things, do. If you can doorbell for Josh and Mike, I bet you they'll let you, put some Trump literature there too. Voter registration take with you. What kind of resources? Are we going to get Slim Jims and things that way? Or are we going to get signs? Or?
So we're going to get signs. First thing you're going to get, the first shipment that just came in actually is going to be yard signs, more yard signs. We've got bumper stickers. We've got doorbelling, Slim Jims. Pretty much all the promotional. We got T-shirts. It's amazing to me, but the Make America Great Again hats are flying off the shelf. I can buy a Make America Great Again hat off of the website quicker than I can get one if I ask for it. So good luck on those. You're on.
Are there any questions?
I guess I did short circuit. Jesus. Yeah.
I don't think there are going to be any questions, John.
There's people raising their hand. I don't know if... I don't mind answering unless you won't.
He wants you to use this so he can take the walk around, so
All right.
hold that up to your mouth.
Right there. Like that.
Let's see. Try that.
So how do we get
Hello? Yeah. What's that?
How do we get a yard sign?
They're right here in the back. Yep, I brought a bunch
we have
with
signs
me.
here.
All right, there's some here, and then this is really weird. I'm holding this. I should probably put it around my ear, but it just feels weird to me. I'd look like an offensive coordinator for the Seahawks, won't I? I definitely would have given the ball to Marshawn Lynch. Okay. I got these big ears, John. Alfred E. Newman. Who remembers Alfred E. Newman? Yeah. All right.
Don't worry.
That's who Hillary's going to make her Secretary of State. Couldn't be any worse than her. All right.
Questions?
I've had a lot of people around Spokane, all over Spokane and the Valley, calling me asking for an office, if you're going to have an office. And the Victory Center has notified me, telling me that they have 2 office spaces available. What do you think about putting something down there, since they're always getting calls for you?
Well, I don't know that we're going to go and rent or even get like a permanent office location in Spokane. I know that we're going to over on the I-5 corridor. But yeah, we can stage some materials in the...
And they have that.
Fund. Yeah, and Dave Moore has contacted the campaign, and so yeah, there will be signs. I want to get signs everywhere. I hope to see it on every block in every city and on I-90. We need to be better on I-90. You know, when you drive from here to Seattle.
Stop and break it because they're driving.
Yeah.
But there was 0 Hillary this weekend.
0 Hillary.
2 Trump signs. I made this my going over and back.
Good for you.
Little cheer I did each time.
Nice.
My husband was about ready to grab my pistol
Oh my God.
and use it.
Who's your husband?
Okay, questions?
42 over and back.
Okay.
0 Hillary.
Good. Questions? Don't, I put this thing on and then I'm going to take, okay, good.
Yeah.
One more question.
If the boys can move.
Okay, one of my concerns about Donald Trump is how he's been sort of putting down his fellow Republicans when he was running in the primary. And at the convention, when Ted Cruz, he left, some say that he said, I'm going to vote my conscience, I'm going to vote for Hillary Clinton. Did he really say that?
He didn't say he's going to vote for Hillary Clinton, but he said he wanted people to vote their conscience. But that's a great question that I want to answer once and for all on the negative stuff.
Okay.
No, I'm going to forget this if I don't. I hear this in local races. I heard it in my race one time when I ran for the state senate originally about negative campaigning. I just want to say this once and for all. If you have supported terrible policies, and if you have supported bigger government and more taxes, it's not negative campaigning, it's truthful campaigning. So I want to put that out there that that's part of the political correctness thing that I hate and why I love Trump. Because the truth of the matter is, Marco Rubio was terrible on immigration, for example. He was part of the Gang of 8, so he's just not supposed to say that? Or Ted Cruz. Ted Cruz got money from Goldman Sachs, and his wife was on. So you're not supposed to say that, evidently. I mean, give me a break. I think can't we tell the truth? I don't want to mudsling, but if it's actually happened and you did it, I'm sorry, but that's not negative campaigning. That's me pointing out to the voter, in which I believe is a very sacred relationship, that you need to know this before you are able to vote and support who you'd like, because these are things that determine the outcomes of elections. So I wanted to preface that by saying I'm so done with this. If it's negative and you say, hey, so-and-so cheats on their wife and is an adulterer, okay, well, that's negative campaigning and wrong. If you're just pointing out, here's all the bad stuff that so-and-so supported, what the hell? That's what politics is. I don't get it. I don't get why that's a negative thing, but that's just me.
Okay, well, I was sort of on the fence between Donald Trump and Ted Cruz.
Yep.
I like them both. Ted Cruz has a very excellent record when it comes to following the Constitution.
Yep.
I mean, he's like a 90% in compliance according to the New American Freedom Index.
He's not a candidate. I mean, it's like going to the Super Bowl with the Panthers and the Broncos and me rooting for the Seahawks. He's not a candidate anymore. You got to vote for who. So who do you like more? Do you like Hillary or do you like Donald Trump?
That's your choice.
But now at this point, I would like Donald Trump to kind of like reach out to him and try to patch things up. Yeah, well, we said some bad things about each other and our families, but
Laura,
there are more that we have in common than we have differences.
I totally agree. In reality, I mean, with the general idea, like a Reagan's 11th commandment, right? We don't speak ill of other Republicans. I totally get that concept. The truth of the matter is there were 17 people running for president. And if you remember correctly, remember really what Ted Cruz did. Ted Cruz used Donald Trump to up his profile. They were best buddies at the beginning, and Ted Cruz was asking him to come to Washington, D.C. for rallies and so on and so forth. And then all of a sudden, when it looked like Trump was probably going to be the favorite and nobody thought that he had a chance, Then all of a sudden they had to create a controversy there. So I don't think Ted Cruz is the biggest sweetheart in the world. That's just my personal opinion. Should we try to get him on? Should we try to get all the people that voted for Cruz? Obviously, I want to get more than that. I want to get all the people that voted. I would think we got a chance of getting a lot of Bernie supporters, to be honest with you. So I want to try and get all of the votes that we possibly can. Yeah.
Actually, Kasich is talking about endorsing Trump.
Yeah.
So-
Well, I thought he did today. I thought he kind of wilted away.
Well, I missed it.
Okay.
I mean, what we've got is that you can vote for Trump or you can give the country away. So
Yeah.
get used to it.
No, there. I don't have to be an offensive coordinator anymore. All right.
I'd like to just remind everybody, too, that on the DonaldJTrump.com website, he's got a great page on his policies there. And they're very clear. They're very well defined. He mentioned yesterday in his economic speech that he would be updating that section with a lot more detail. Some of the detail came out tonight that we got from the campaign, and it's astounding. You know, so those are the things for us to learn so that we understand. I mean, he's reaching out to 320 million people already. So when we think that he has to, you know, we have to go look for his message too. You know, everything he does is streamed live. Every single thing. Right Side Broadcasting, I'd love to have that contract. I mean, they have every event he's ever done archived. It's up there every day.
I need a microphone here. Okay. And Rob Chase has been sent to talk for Mike Voles, so he's going to talk for a second here. Going back, remember that Mike came is our in the top 2 against Lynette Veers. So Rob's here for that.
Well, I forgot my cell phone tonight, but someone told me, I think Josh did, that Mike had texted him that I would speak for Mike tonight, so I'm a Toastmaster, so I can handle this. And actually, looking back like a year ago, you know, we were all talking. Some of us were for Rand Paul, some of us were for Ted Cruz, and some for Ben Carson, and then someone said, well, Brian Dansel's for Trump, and I thought, man, I used to respect that guy. And, you know, I just thought, how could someone out of the chutes go for this guy who's on The Apprentice, who's kind of like a, you know, a funny guy, and is on the WWE and everything. And then as I started watching the debates and, you know, the people started falling up, you know, the Republican Party threw their best and brightest at him, and he cut him to ribbons, you know, over that time. And he was the last man standing. And it kind of got closer towards the end, and I thought, gee, there's something about this guy. He's more than meets the eye. So after I got on his campaign, you know, we put out, I think we had like 54 by 8 signs. And I think I put up about 24 of them, and just about every one of them was stolen or destroyed within about a week. That tells you the guy's got to be good, you know, if riffraff like that are destroying his signs, you know.
Right,
so,
and I did ask Pat Green to talk with you because he has some solutions for our sign
Oh, good,
problems,
okay.
So.
Yeah, I came close
Don't
a couple
leave.
of times, so if we get more signs, maybe I'll finally catch these guys. But, you know, one thing about Brian Dansel, too, was if you look back, I think the new paradigm started with Brian Dansel. You know, he raised less than half the money of his opponent, and he won. And I noticed that 2 of the guys I put up signs for and endorsed and worked for was Dwayne Davidson, you know, Benton County Treasurer for State Treasurer, and also Mike Volz, and they both were outspent about 4-1, and they won. So, and of course, Josh Kearns, he was outspent by quite a bit too, and he won. So maybe the new paradigm is you don't want to raise money. You know, you just, you know, it's kind of like the kiss of death, I guess, like the spokesman review endorsement, you know. But anyway, congratulations to all of them, because I think the important thing is that if with the money you've got to spend it well. I think they did that in every case. They were very smart about how they spent their money. So it's not all about money. A lot of it's just common sense. So if they're that smart on how they spend their campaign money, hopefully they'll be that smart when they become commissioner and state senator and state treasurer too. One thing I will say, you know, I stayed out of the commissioner race because, you know, when we had the runoff and everything, the appointment, all 3 of them were my friends. So I also felt at the county level I should kind of stay out of these things because I might be working with someone I didn't endorse. And so I stayed out of it, but you know, I'm glad to see Josh there. But I will say this about Nancy. In 5.5 years, Nancy was the first county commissioner that ever came to the treasurer's office to see what it was we did there. So, you know, I think kudos, my hat's off to Nancy, you know, for that doing too. And something else will open up for her. I think, you know, she's a believer, and she knows, you know, she'll be wherever God wants her to be at. So Anyway, but I think Tuesday night was a good night, and look, as long as I've been in this whole thing, you know, I've just seen us go so far. You know, a lot of us, maybe it's the factions fighting with each other, with, you know, iron on iron or something, but there's more PCOs now, there's more ideas being discussed and everything, and there's more excitement too. I think Brian is actually right. I do think a lot of the Bernie supporters, in fact, I only know one Democrat, and I know a lot of Democrats actually was for Hillary, my sister. And I'm sorry, but my sister, you know, is a Hillary fan. But I think the TPP, a lot of these people are going to, you know, Bernie was against the Trans-Pacific Partnership, and I think that will be, you know, and Trump was against it from the very beginning too. So I think that will bring a lot of Bernie people in, and I really think there's a good chance for us to take the entire state. And then I think I read Jim Camden's article where he said the last state treasurer was a Republican was 80 years ago. And, you know, not only we may have a Republican, we will have a Republican state treasurer, but it could be not just Kim Wyman, who's elected statewide, but an Eastern Washington guy is elected statewide. So I'm hoping for Dwayne Davidson. Anyway, did I talk about Mike Volz? Not yet. Oh. Okay, and of course Mike, I think, will be great if he gets there. I'm sure he will. He'll be the only CPA in the House, and I think we do need someone who's really a quick study, knows the numbers, and can make sure that money is well spent. And I have high hopes for Mike Volz. So. Anyway, I'm sure you'll see him down the road. So I'll turn it back over to Cecily here.
Okay, thank you very much. So like I said, next movie night is September 13th, and goodness knows what we'll be doing, but we'll be doing something. We'll be here. And so that is it for this evening. So I know Brian Dansel's still here, and Josh and people that way, so mingle around, talk. We've got the signs to hand out in the back. I do want you Trumpsters to let me know if you can work the fair booth, so sign up there. And that is all for tonight. Thank you very much.